apparently is the first time in 20 years that a Jets quarterback threw for more than 400 yards in 20 years. Like, you kidding?
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorm Debate podcast. Now, currently, it is Tuesday at 9 p.m. The trade deadline has passed. Let's go through and review. By the way, we have John and Caleb on hand. Jonathan couldn't make it. Thank God, because he'd be going off about Cooper Rush and his MVP performance. So we are spared this week, the Cowboys talk. But let's go through the trade deadline. Let's kind of review here. This will be our first topic. Now, Deshaun Watson, still a Texan. Odell Beckham, still a Brown. Marlon Mack is still a Colt. And Allen Robinson is still on the Bears. Those were the big names that people thought were going to get traded. Nothing happened, per usual. That always happens. There's always big names thrown around, and then nothing ever happens. But the players that did get moved, Melvin Ingram goes to the Chiefs from the Steelers. Von Miller goes from the Broncos to the Rams. Huge playoff contender right there. Mark Ingram went to the Saints. I'm kind of just reviewing old trades. Zach Ertz to the Cardinals. Stephon Gilmore to the Panthers. Those were the big trades. There were other ones, but they weren't as significant as these ones. So my question to pose to you guys, which team benefited the most from these trades? Now, the biggest one that I could highlight is Von Miller to the Rams. And we've said this before, where the pass rush is so important against teams like the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, with Kyler Murray. The pass rush is very important. The Rams already had an elite pass rush, and now you add Von Miller to that. You put Von Miller right next to one of the best in Aaron Donald. That's a lethal D-line. Caleb, what do you think that will do for the Rams going forward? They already beat the Buccaneers. What can they do now with adding Von Miller, a Pro Bowl linebacker?
Yeah, I think Von Miller going to the Rams is I'm going to rehash what a lot of people in the media have already said. I think this shows that the Rams are all in. I mean, I think you guys can elaborate more after I finish this piece, but I think I think the Rams organization basically, as documented on record, said they don't care about draft picks. So I respect that they understand that this is a window where they have these veteran guys. They've acquired talent. And I think Von Miller has a lot of juice in the tank left. Like, sure, he's an older guy, but if anything, being able to rotate out, if anything, this gives the Rams depth. And they're also showing that they are going all in on this Super Bowl for this year. We talk a lot about the Broncos. We mentioned the Cardinals, but I think the Rams with Matthew Stafford, it's showing that they have gotten the better end of the quarterback stick in that regard. They gave up a lot to get him, but it's showing that they are immediately contenders, having beaten the Bucs. And frankly, I just look at it that you hope that none of these guys get injured, but even with a healthy starting line, that depth that Von Miller will have, that's the base. You would have hoped that the Steelers had that, but some of the sources I saw were saying that he's on a 1-year contract, that the Steelers didn't have room for him against Watt. So, the Steelers get a little something out of it, and the Rams get to have an explosive veteran who's won a Super Bowl, has that experience, and gets that depth on the D-line. So I think whether they rotate him out, whether they put him next to the other guys on the line there, I think it's going to be impressive. John, I was curious, what do you think? I mean, do you think the Rams are the biggest winner with Von Miller, or what are your thoughts on the Von Miller trade?
Yeah, I do like Von Miller to the Rams. I think, obviously, like you said, they don't really care about draft picks. I think they only have 2 or 3 picks in next year's draft. So they're going all in now. And I like the trade because, their defense is good, and a lot of people want them in fantasy now that they have Von Miller. It can only get better from here. I think it's a great trade for them. But honestly, I think a little bit better of a trade. There weren't any huge trades, but I think a bigger one was probably Mark Ingram to the Saints. Now, he was on the Saints a few years ago, left, went to the Texans, and now he's back on the Saints. And we saw against the Buccaneers, I mean, he didn't have any huge plays against the Buccaneers, but the Saints did win that game, and Ingram really did help. You saw him catch a couple screen passes. He had some good runs. I think it's great for the Saints, especially now that Jameis Winston is out. Taysom Hill is going to be running the ball a lot. We know how the offense looks with Taysom Hill. They throw the ball, but not nearly as much as they do when they have Winston. So I think it's great for the Saints because now they have Ingram out of the backfield, Kamara out of the backfield, and you have Taysom Hill, so they could run some read options. And not only that, but I mean, we've seen all these running backs so far. McCaffrey, top running back, gets hurt. Dalvin Cook, he hasn't been himself. He missed a few games. Derrick Henry, he's out 6 to 10 weeks. I mean, we've seen all these guys, and Kamara is one of the only few top guys left. And you want to bring Ingram in,
True.
keep the load maybe off Kamara a little bit to make him last the whole season. So I think that's the biggest trade. What do you guys think that was good?
Yeah. Just for our listeners, sorry.
No,
for me, it was a little confusing, right? But so Mark Ingram is on the Saints now, and then Melvin Ingram from the Steelers to what team was that?
The Chiefs.
Chiefs. Okay, because I saw 2 Ingrams, and I'm like, because it, like you said, it's going back to the days of old when Ingram and Kamara were the two-headed something, killing it. So Jared, you were gonna say?
No, he didn't even have that much of like an effect on the game statistically, but he would get the crowd pumped up. Like he had like a first down run or something, or a catch, and he was hype. Like he's so happy to be back. I mean, who wouldn't be happy if going from the freaking Texans, the mess of a program, to the Saints, where they have a chance to win the division? Like he actually can play meaningful football. So he's pumped, and the fans are pumped because he was just a fan favorite, and he just fits right in because he already knows the offense so well. Like John said, Kamara could go down at any moment. He could have a big year, but it seemed like they were kind of teams have been keying on Kamara. I know not as of late because they've been playing kind of crappy opponents, but like the good teams usually key on Kamara, and then the Saints have no offense. So to have a backup in Mark Ingram, to have Kamara have some fresh legs, maybe get some rest, and then come back on and not just have a huge workload the whole time, I think is great. Caleb, can you talk about Zach Ertz going to the Cardinals? Because you're an Eagles fan, you know Zach Ertz, you know what he can bring to the table. He's already impacted the team so well. Do you think this is a great fit for him and like something that they were missing? Maybe that could push them maybe further in the playoffs than they were going to go?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think as an Eagles fan, I'm sad to see him go, even though even friends of mine who are Eagles fans were talking about how Goddard's the future, and I think there's someone behind him as well that was doing pretty well. But I think in the eyes of Philadelphia, and I'd wager even Zach Ertz himself that like the same way if you guys heard LaShawn McCoy signed a 1-day contract just to retire as an Eagle, I think he'll always be an Eagle in that sense. He certainly has the city's respect and fan base's respect no matter what. Despite his age, I think he's one of the top guys. I just think he not suffered, but this season he hasn't done as well because the Eagles haven't done as well. But going on the Cardinals immediately, his impact's been, he has a touchdown in 2 games, 100+ yards, I think, and making a difference. And he's a great blocking tight end. Great. They were talking about how quickly he got the playbook. Like I think he graduated Stanford. So the Eagles get something out of it. They allow him to kind of breathe. But if it's between the Eagles or Cardinals winning, I think the Cardinals win because they're also, we're talking about the Rams going all in. I think the Cardinals get that extra piece of they have threats in different positions, but that's a tight end threat that now defenses have to essentially double team him, and he brings that winning mentality of he was a critical game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. So like if you're thinking of a player, you want a player who can be clutch in the moment, contrary to how much hate AJ Green got, I mean, in that moment, if I'm Kyler, I'm throwing it to Ertz. So I'm saying like in terms of the trade, I think it was a good trade for the Cardinals. Anything the Eagles would have gotten would have been, I think, short-term unless we draft like the next Tom Brady or something. I personally, as a human, wish that we'd kept Ertz, his whole career, but I'm also very happy to see him killing it. I think it's a great trade if you're a Cardinals fan and the team, and if you're Kyler Murray, because that gives he's just when he's on fire with you and you're in sync, he can do a lot.
Ernst is a great fantasy pickup too.
Yeah.
One more thing on the trade deadline, the players that didn't get drafted. John, was there anyone that you expected to get traded that you maybe thought, you were surprised that they didn't at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think I was texting you about this throughout the week. Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
We thought it was even more possible that he goes somewhere after Derrick Henry gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So it was surprising that he didn't get moved. I mean, it's not that surprising that he didn't go to the Titans because the Colts and Titans are in the same division. So if you see a division rival, their star running back goes down, you don't really want to give them one of your running backs to help them win games. But even going to somewhere else, maybe like Baltimore, where Latavius Murray is hurt, Le'Veon Bell hasn't been performing, Tyson Williams, like a place like that, it's just surprising that he didn't get moved, especially because he asked for a trade. So like he wants to go, they kind of don't want him there, and there was other places he could have went, but so that was the only one that was, the big surprise for me that he didn't get moved.
Yeah, I saw that as well with Marlon Mack because, like you said, it was reported that it was mutually both teams were like. I think the problem there wasn't that he's not a good running back, but it's just too much. He's kind of low on the depth chart, right? It was the issue. So, he could probably. I mean, but do you guys think Marlon Mack on his own could be a starter on some other teams, or would he be like a solid 2-man backfield? I don't know.
I mean, he did have the starting role.
Yeah.
2 years ago, not last year when Jonathan Taylor was there, but 2 years ago, he rushed for over 1,000 yards.
Right, right. When Taylor went down that year, right?
Right. So he could be good. I mean, I would love to see him on another team. He probably will go to another team in the offseason. But another team, a guy that they mutually agreed to request a trade, but a trade never happened, and they ended up waiving him, was Deshaun Jackson of the Rams, which is a little surprising because he had a couple touchdowns. He had a couple deep touchdowns. So that was a little surprising to me. I don't know the details on that, but that was surprising that they let him go.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know. I mean, you said you don't know the details, or I was surprised by that because I know they have a star team, and we were talking about them going all in and having a lot of veteran players. But unless there was some off-field issues with Jackson, watching the Rams game, I thought he had a really good connection as a deep threat, and they were talking. He still has the speed, however old he is. I thought he had a good connection with Stafford. So I honestly, unless there's something I don't know or something that Jackson's not happy about, I'm kind of still befuddled by it. I don't know why it seemed to be mutual too. So I was like, what's Deshaun Jackson's not the guy. He wouldn't be the guy on any team, I don't think, number one, but he's good enough to be top 3, I think, if you compare him with if you put him with 2 other really good guys. So I was surprised by that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, somebody like the Titans might want to look to pick him up with Julio Jones injured and Derrick Henry out. They know they're going to need to throw the ball more. So it's going to be, Giants. They can't stay healthy at all.
Yeah,
but yeah,
every freaking play, someone's hopping off the field.
Dude, literally, it's insane. But yeah, Deshaun Jackson. It's like you said, Caleb. It seems, if I had to guess, it seems like it's something in the locker room or with his relationships, or something had to be going on for you to leave one of the best teams in the league.
Right.
Right. The emergence of Von Jefferson. They do believe in him, and they are trying to get him more into the offense. So maybe they thought it was more beneficial to give Von Jefferson the snaps than to put Deshaun Jackson in. So,
yeah,
I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I'd also say, just like kind of still while we're on the topic, it seems like the Broncos are kind of a winner in the long term. I guess they're not outright winners right now, but they're getting a lot of picks for the guys they're giving up because they also traded to the Eagles. I forget his name, but
was it a lineman?
No, it was a corner, safety, but I think we'll use him as a cornerback. Kerry Vincent Jr. He was drafted in the 7th, so the Eagles gave him a 6. Interpret that how you may, but basically the Broncos acquired with Von Miller too. They've acquired some for the future. So if I'm the Broncos franchise, I'd keep an eye on them because they're definitely starting to get like capital to invest a year or 2 from now.
You got to get a quarterback. That's number one on the priority list. Let's move on to our next topic. Is Mike White the MVP? And is Mike White
of the season, of the day, of what?
The whole season? And is he better than Tom Brady? We'll start off with Caleb.
Well, he was on Sunday, right?
He was on Sunday. He was the best quarterback on Sunday.
That is crazy. What they called New York Post called him White Lightning.
White Lightning. So
I don't. Yeah.
Does this mean Zach Wilson will be traded? No, I was kidding. All right, let's review here because it was a huge day for backup quarterbacks. Who would have thought backup quarterbacks shine on Sunday on Halloween? So first, gotta say, Mike White led the league in passing yards, 405 yards, 3 TDs, 2 interceptions, and a dub against the Bengals. Trevor Siemian of the Saints comes in for Jameis Winston, 159 yards, a touchdown, and a dub against the Super Bowl champ Bucks. And then you got Cooper Rush of the Cowboys, 325 yards, 2 TDs, and an interception in a win against the Vikings on Sunday night. Now, my question is, which QB performance was the most impressive? John, I'll throw it over to you. Are you going to say Mike White?
I am going to say Mike White, but I wanted to say something first. Now that Jonathan's not here, I could say something. I think, was it last week that one of the questions was, who's the top contender in the AFC? And Jonathan's like, well, I'm deciding between the Bengals or the Titans. And he's like, well, I can't say Titans because they lost to the Jets. So you can't put a team.
Oh my
that
gosh,
lost to the
he
Jets.
did say that.
And then he's like, so it's got to be the Bengals. And now the Bengals lose to the Jets. So
I said the Bengals too. So I was like, the Bengals lose, the Chargers lose, everybody freaking loses. It's just a mess in the AFC.
no, it's not. It's the Bills. I'm telling you. That's what I told you exactly what was going to happen. I'm like, Bills are number 1. I don't know who's number 2. That's exactly what the case is now.
I think I agreed with you too in that. Did I?
Yeah.
I've been, I heard you say that, and you're proven right. I think I was with you the whole time.
And then no, but I think it's Mike White. He had Caleb. I was telling Jared before we got on. There was a bettor. He bet $1,000 that Mike White would be the leading passer in the NFL this week in terms of passing yards, and he won the bet, $1,000. He won $126,000.
God.
Wow,
So
what? That's cryptocurrency returns on a good day.
I know that's like he's
the
like
heck?
set. He gets to buy himself a new car,
Wow.
everything.
Wow, that's
So,
I want to hear what his next bet is.
I know, me too. Who's gonna lead the league next week?
What a brave. Imagine if that's your last $1,000, or like I'm just gonna wing it, guys.
I'm gonna put on this backup quarterback. But no, I think Mike White, great performance against the Bengals. The Bengals defense didn't look good. And honestly, if you guys have or don't have Michael Carter on your fantasy teams, pick him up. He ended the week as the number 1 running back in fantasy football with over 32 fantasy points.
What? He did?
I know, it's surprising because he only had like 70 rushing yards, but he had like 8 catches for like 90 yards. He had a touchdown. He was crazy, and he's just a rookie running back out of North Carolina. Remember the second running back. The first was Javonte Williams out of North Carolina. So that was pretty impressive. So this Thursday night against the Colts, good streaming option if you guys need a running back in any of your leagues. He got almost 10 targets out of the backfield. So Mike White's going to be starting again. He likes to look for Michael Carter, but very impressive by Mike White. We'll have to see how it goes moving forward, and it'd be interesting to see if he gets the start or gets to stay the starter when Zach Wilson returns from injury. So we'll see.
Well, I forgot to mention, Caleb, they also performed the Philly special, and he caught a touchdown.
Mike White did.
Mike White caught a touchdown performing the Philly special.
I gotta because I was gonna say I haven't had a chance to watch the game, like the rewind of it yet. Mm-hmm. But I was gonna say that just based off the hype and the statistics, hearing that too just adds more fuel to the fire. I mean, do you swap out the starter? Because it seemed like that was the spark that the Jets. Listen, I haven't seen the game, so maybe I'm lacking bias, but it apparently is the first time in 20 years that the Jets quarterback threw for more than 400 yards in 20 years. Like, are you?
Wow.
You kidding?
And that was just his first career NFL start. I think he's the first quarterback since Cam Newton to throw for 400 yards in his first career start. And he had 44 attempts. He threw 44 passes, and 37 of them were caught. That's like 85-90% completion.
And I couldn't tell you one Jets receiver. So it's all
I didn't even know who Mike White is or who
he threw it to himself.
The running back you talked I mean, to beat the Bengals too, it's like not only was it'd be different if they went up against a bad team, but the Bengals are arguably, maybe second, third in the AFC. They're playoff contenders. Burrow's coming into form. All that team's coming into form. Certainly, they have issues, but the Jets certainly have way more. But it seemed like the team got hyped. The city, I mean, the stadium was chanting his name. You might be getting into I'm gonna say Hurts Wentz situation, where this is like psychologically will this affect him, Wilson. But I just want to say it's my final take, but let me just do the math here. But Mike White and Nick Foles have the same number of letters in each name, so we just got to keep that in awareness.
Are you saying he's gonna win a Super Bowl?
Hey, maybe this is his break. When no one knew, but when Herbert just kind of started and ended up killing it against Mahomes, and now he's the starter, maybe this is Mike White's moment. So
we're on the same wavelength, Caleb. I'm thinking Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady scenario right now. This is that
franchise has been through so much that they haven't had a good quarterback.
Release Zach Wilson. It was a wasted pick.
Oh,
you have your franchise guy for the next 10 years.
Do what the Cardinals did with Rosen, you think?
Yeah.
I mean, where's Rosen? Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, because we're talking about we're all on Mike White, I think, but all the other guys. I mean, Simeon, I didn't even know was on the Saints, but Cooper Rush, I was, but all those guys, they played well enough to not lose. Mike White had to outgun Joe Burrow, essentially. And
true.
we always do quarterback versus quarterback. It's the defense, they don't really, Brady never played Mahomes on the same field in terms of on the opposite side of the ball. But yeah, I mean, I think all the other quarterback starts that did win and did play well enough to win. I mean, White just seemed the guy that stole the headline, So I think for this week it's easy to say White was the number one backup win, but still a big win though.
Yeah, statistically he definitely outperformed him, and it was much more of a shootout with the Bengals. They were going back and forth. With Trevor Siemian, seemed like the Saints defense was kind of helping him out there. Trevor Siemian did have a great game. I did want to highlight.
It's fine.
I wanted to highlight a lot of his plays. Like, he had no turnovers at all. Played the game very smart. He had 5 scoring drives that ended in 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals. It's like when you're facing off against Tom Brady, I know it's not the ideal thing to just get field goals, but it seemed like every time he got the ball, they would score. At the very minimum, he would get a field goal just to keep him in the game. He had 2 4th down conversions. He just played so calm. And I was texting John as soon as Trevor Siemian came in. I said to him, look, in 2019, when we lived at the apartment in college, and Trevor Siemian came in, I think it was for the Jets. I was like,
oh,
John, I remember how bad he was. He was so bad that I remember how bad it was.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm like, this is going to be a disaster. I know this guy is bad. And then slowly, he comes down and he gets a touchdown, and then he gets a field goal. Then he gets another touchdown. I'm like, what the heck? Then he hands it off to Kamara and he gets in. It's this offense all of a sudden is running so smooth. And I could not believe that Trevor Siemian was behind the whole thing, but he just felt like such a game manager. And the one thing that the other two didn't, that Trevor had to do, was he didn't know he was starting that game. He had to come in mid-game and perform against the Buccaneers, the reigning Super Bowl champs. You just come in mid-game. He hasn't played a game since 2018 or 2019, and he has to come in mid-game and perform at the highest level, and he made 0 mistakes. And the defense luckily got a game-winning interception, and he just played amazing. And going forward, John, do you think they'll rock with Siemian, or do you think once Hill comes back, Taysom Hill will probably get the start?
Yeah, I think once Taysom Hill is healthy, he's going to get the start, because that's what they did last year when they didn't have Winston and Breeze was out. So I think Hill's going to start when he's healthy, but honestly, he's probably not going to get cleared from concussion. Remember, he did get a concussion in week 5, and it's now week 8 going into week 9, and he still hasn't even practiced. So it's tough for him to go from no practices to like, okay, yep, he's going to come back this week just because Jameis is hurt. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be probably Simeon this week and then Hill the next week. But still, roster Hill if you can in fantasy.
I mean, before we jump to the next one, I mean, they have the Falcons coming up, then they got the Titans and the Eagles and the Bills. So it seems like they'll split those games like 2-2. They could beat the Falcons with Simeon. I don't know if they could beat the Titans in Tennessee.
True.
Dude, I mean, I don't know, because I mean, you could say like, who thought he could have beat the Bucks, right? Like,
right?
Because I get it, the respect the line of the chain of command or whatever, like the next man up. But if you put Taysom in, then the question's the narrative. And again, we talk a lot about narrative, but it doesn't. If you're a player, it's just different. It doesn't really matter. But then the question will be like, well, can he win big games? And can he win against the Titans the way Simeon won against the Bucks? So I think if I'm calling it, I say keep Simeon in, and if he does bad, bench him and put the next guy, and then keep Hill. Like both of them. I do think losing Winston sucks. I think he's a fun player to watch. He's certainly one of those guys that has a unique personality outside off the field that I think is really some of the memes that he was just doing and contributing to society. I'm really sad that we won't get that every week the way we used to. But he's a good player, and bringing in Ingram and all those. What's crazy to think is you forget about Simeon. He had those bad games, like you said, but then you think back to it was on the Broncos, right? Like he was competing. There was the question in the organization, like, is he the guy? Like he was in there long enough to at least. My thinking is he was at least good enough to make people like kind of side glance, like, is he? Maybe it's him, maybe not, but makes me think that at least if you're looking for a backup, you keep him. Like I think Hills can be a great quarterback too, but Simeon's already won the game, and he's just a quarterback. Hill can be used in other ways on top of being second to Simeon, unless Simeon starts to play bad. So that's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I do remember looking at Simeon's stats from the Broncos, and I think he was like 500. So he wasn't terrible. I mean, his statistics aren't great, but he did keep him in the games. He did win a couple games. I just have a feeling that Taysom Hill, like coming off an injury, and also, coming back and being a quarterback again. I wonder how many reps he's taken this year at the quarterback position in practice. Like you just never know.
Right.
Let's move on to the next topic. The big news in week 8 were all the injuries. I mean, yesterday, so we're recording this on Tuesday. On Monday, all these injuries started coming out. Derrick Henry, Jameis Winston. A week ago, JJ Watt came out. So Derrick Henry supposedly out for the year with a foot injury, foot injury. So he's having surgery on his foot. Then Jameis Winston tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the year. Then JJ Watt last week, they said he's going to be out for the year. He's having shoulder surgery. And then this isn't really an injury, but just an update that we got on midday Sunday that Calvin Ridley is going to be walking away from football for mental health reasons. So we don't know when he's going to be coming back. So a lot of these are big name players. Which one do you guys think, which injury or, Calvin Ridley's walking away, which hurts the team the most? In my opinion, I'll go first. It's got to be Derrick Henry. When you think of the Titans, you just think of Derrick Henry, and the offense runs on Derrick Henry. So the news came out. John, who did the Titans pick up?
They picked up Adrian Peterson.
And how old is Adrian Peterson? 94?
Yeah, he's actually 93. He'll be 94 in a few weeks.
Disrespect.
I just don't understand how you replace Derrick Henry with Adrian Peterson. It just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't think they're gonna just give Peterson the same amount of touches that they were giving Henry. No, but definitely split it up. But I know, Jared, you were saying, I know you don't really have high hopes for Peterson, but I think he's still a viable running back. I think he could handle 15 touches a game.
He
And
was a goal line guy on the Lions. Like, I remember
right,
him getting just goal line touches and getting touchdowns, and he actually was a good pick for fantasy a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year. But he would just
right.
get those touchdowns. He's very touchdown dependent. Other than that, he really didn't produce at all.
True. Yeah, he is. I agree that he's going to be touchdown dependent. He's probably a typical game from him is probably going to look like 15 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. So, somewhere in the range of 12 to 15 fantasy points, which is not going to replace Derrick Henry. So if you have Derrick Henry on your fantasy team, you might need to trade away one of your good receivers or maybe your quarterback or something for a better running back. But he's going to be a solid RB2. In one of my 12-man leagues, I have a waiver in for Adrian Peterson. Now, that's only because my running back situation in that league is pretty bad, even though my quarterback is Brady and my receivers are Hill, Hopkins, and Chase. So I'm good in those
Good
departments. But
Lord.
yeah, but my running backs are struggling. So I'm basically a revolving door at running back. So I'm going to pick up Peterson. I mean, if I could get 15 points from my running backs, I'm happy. So if you're in that situation, obviously it depends on your situation if you're going to pick him up. But in terms of actual football, I think he's going to be better than you expect.
Any
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts?
yeah, I think it's in terms of what injury hurts the team the most. I think it's clearly Derrick Henry. How many carries he has? He was. It sucks to see because he was for a running back to be in the MVP conversation the way he was playing is what the level that he was playing at. No team's offense relies so much on one guy the way Titans do. Uh, there's a chance that there was rumors that he might be out for the season. Now it's saying because of the kind of fracture. There's some reports saying 8 weeks, which they have 9 games left, but it's still not definitive from to my understanding. And yeah, no other team. He carries that team. I mean, if I'm a Titans fan, big picture, yeah, I hope he does well. I hope he improves in terms of health. But I'm also like, you see how other knee injuries affected other running backs and how they kind of don't come back the same. For this to be a fracture in the foot, it's not good. But it's just a matter of this season maybe not being the season for Derrick Henry specifically. Can the Titans still win games? Yeah, and I think, like you said, John, you alluded to, like Derrick Henry certainly is a beast. No one can replace him, but to put up those kind of yards, you gotta have a good offensive line. And I think you put not that you can put any guy, but you get a guy like Adrian Peterson, you mix it up, and Tannehill's good enough to keep, uh, you know, even with relying on Henry as much as they did, Tannehill's good enough. He's a resurgence that he's had after leaving Miami to carry the team to that kind of. Could they win some couple games? I still think so. Despite the loss the Colts had to them, I think the Colts are right on their tail because they're in that division, and it opens up a window for the Colts to catch up because if they kept Henry, it'd keep going. The only other injury I think would come close, like certainly JJ Watt is a charisma. He's a great player, but that's a charisma. Like he's a charismatic leader of the team. To not have him out on the field sucks. And I know his body's taken a lot of hits over the past couple of years. If you read some of the details into his, how much he has struggled getting out of cars. I think we talked about in the podcast years ago. So you wish him the best, but I think JJ Watt has had injuries before. The closest I would think is Jameis Winston. That he is just a dynamic player. I think with Kamara, they do depend on him the way the Saints depend on Kamara the way they kind of do for the Titans. But Kamara is very durable, not in a similar way that Henry is. But also, I think Winston, if you go between Winston or Tannehill, I'd say Winston's a better quarterback despite his. I mean, he was cleaning up his act. Winston has higher highs and lower lows, but he was with the Saints, he was doing better at eliminating some of those lows. So I think losing Winston's going to hurt the team. Can a guy like Simeon? There was talk of Phillip Rivers maybe, getting a call. Like, will the Saints get someone else, Cam Newton, or will they keep Hill or Simeon? I think certainly the close second, I would argue, is Winston. And to touch a little bit on Calvin Ridley, I know you guys might want to talk more. I know from a fantasy perspective, it sucks if you have him on your team, but as a human perspective, I think it's good that players are starting to uh, take their mental health seriously. It's a good example for the rest of society, for the rest of it's just to remember that these are real people. I mean, John, you brought it up before too, that like we talk about them kind of objectively, but these are players, these are men who, just because you have a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to be happy, doesn't mean that you're not going to have issues that are really big. So, you saw it with Simone Biles in the Olympics, and if you're an Eagles fan, you saw it with Lane Johnson opening up about, pretty severe depression. So, I have a lot of sympathy for those guys. I hope he gets his heart, his mind, and his soul right. But certainly for the Falcons, I look at the Eagles situation that when it went down for Johnson, there was no leaks as to what was happening, just a personal matter. So I respect teams that understand that despite losing a star guy, you put the guy ahead of yourself. That's what you want on a team, is that you're willing to, put everything on the line for the guy next to you, even if it means covering for him when he needs to take a step back from the game. So other people might have different opinions on it, but I mean, we also know that the way these guys are getting hit in the head, you wonder too, if big picture, if this is some issue with that. But you hope not. You hope it's just other issues. But hope he does well, and I'm happy that they have the courage to do that, because it certainly takes a lot at this level. Because you're also not getting paid, or I imagine, or certain things that might transpire what people say. So out of all the injuries, anyway, I think it's Henry first, Winston second, Watt third, and I wouldn't put it on Ridley, for the last one. I don't know what you guys think, but those are just my sense.
I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts, because actually the Packers and the Chiefs play this week in Kansas City. So I'm interested to hear your guys' thoughts on how you think that game is going to go. We see the Chiefs are obviously struggling. It's like every time we saw I think it was the first drive or something the Chiefs had, they go all the way down to like the 5-yard line. He throws it into the end zone, Mahomes does. It bounces off somebody's helmet or shoulder, pops up in the air, and the Giants intercept it. So it feels like the Chiefs, even though they won the game, they really can't have their way. Like Kelsey only had 4 catches for 20 yards and a fumble. Tyreek Hill did get 18 targets and 12 catches. But do you guys think that the Chiefs have a chance in this game, even at home? Or do you think with Devontae Adams coming back that the Packers are going to easily win this?
I'll tell you right now that the Chiefs will not win this game, and I would put $10 on it, which is a lot. It's a lot.
Wait,
it's a lot for me.
So how many points? So just straight up Chiefs? Like, would you give me any points with my $10 bet or no?
Well, first, let's just we're transitioning into week 9 predictions. This is going to be our predictions.
Okay.
Unless somebody else has other ones you can say, but we'll transition into the week 9 predictions.
Sure.
I don't think it'll be close. I'll be honest. I don't think it's going to be close. Aaron Rodgers will pick apart this defense like it's nobody's business. He will read them like a book, and the Chiefs will not have an answer for it. This offense, granted the Giants are a good defensive team, but they looked terrible against the Giants. They made the Giants look like a top 10 defense. They're one thing that I saw with Mahomes is it feels like he's like no one's on the same page. He threw a pass to Kelsey, him and Kelsey that whole game, zero connection at all.
None. It looked like they never played together.
He was wide open in the end. Do you guys see that picture of Kelsey in the end zone, just like on the post, I think, or not on a curl?
Yeah.
Why, no one within 5 yards. That would have been, yeah. I had Kelsey, so I'm a little frustrated.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were gonna say that.
I mean, I needed him to get 45 points to beat Jonathan, so it was already an uphill battle. But they didn't have to. He didn't have to make his win even sweeter,
Like
yeah.
There was a pass to Kelsey along the sideline, and like Kelsey didn't even turn around, and they were just so off the whole game. I had him and Hill were connecting. That was fine. I did see a difference between the first, after that interception off the helmet. I saw ESPN, they timed his time in the pocket, and that drive to the end zone where he got the interception, he was like sitting on like 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket. And then after that, they started doing like literally 1 to max 2 seconds in the pocket, just very quick shots to Hill, quick shots to Hardman and Pringle, like just getting it out of Mahomes' hands and trying to get a rhythm going. But it just doesn't seem like anyone is shining in this offense besides Hill And Mahomes, I think this is the first time that he's had any sort of pressure or stress, or they've been behind in the standings, and he can't do like his comfortable, no look passes. He can't be as relaxed in the pocket because look, you guys are 4-4. You're in the middle of your division. You have the Chargers and the Raiders, who are great teams, and you're losing games that you're not supposed to be losing. And you just lost, or you just won by a field goal against the Giants, who are almost last in their division.
They are
Like,
tied with Washington.
tied with Washington for last in the division. Like, you should be crushing this team after last year going all the way to the Super Bowl. It's very, very concerning. And Mahomes really isn't handling the pressure as well as I thought he would. He said in an interview that this is the first time it hasn't been all, flowers and roses and whatever. And he's like, this is the first time I've actually had pressure. And we're going to see, like, in the last 2 years, it's been, he doesn't want to say easy, but it has been pretty easy for him. And the first sign of pressure and kind of collapse from the team, he's not handling it well at all. Like, I know people that have him in fantasy and they're pretty upset because he's not performing well. So this Packers game, I'm taking Packers. If I had to say a number, I would probably say somewhere in like the 40s, like 40 something to 17.
No,
Yeah,
come on.
like
Okay, come
Oh,
on.
I thought you meant like a shootout, but you're saying they're gonna blow them
think
out.
about no, think about it right now. So Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams comes back, Lazard's back. So passing game is going to be clicking. But not only that, but the Chiefs have no answer in the rush. So Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are just going to be rushing. It's like everything is going to work. Nothing is not.
I mean,
there's not going to be any street. You're going to have to take away Devontae Adams. They'll probably triple team him, and then you have Aaron Jones. You can't do both. It's a lose-lose for the Chiefs. It won't be close.
I think I agree with you in that the Packers basically are going to be able to do whatever they want because the Chiefs defense is horrible. But remember, the Packers, like the Packers cornerbacks are pretty bad. Like, it's as bad as they get. I was watching the game against the Cardinals, and the guy, I think it was Stokes, was trying to cover DeAndre Hopkins because Alexander is still out, and he couldn't cover Hopkins for the life of him. I mean, Hopkins only had 2 catches, but that one catch he had, almost went for the touchdown. Then the second catch, and he couldn't even cover the other guys that were in there, like Randall Cobb or any guy, or I mean, for the like AJ Green or Kirk, like he couldn't cover anybody. So, I mean, Tyreek Hill should have a good game. I expect Kelsey to get back on track. I mean, Jared, if you gave me 4 points and the Chiefs, would you really bet $10? Because I would take the Chiefs and 4 points. I think the Packers, if they win, will only win by a field goal.
What do you mean, Chiefs? Chiefs have to keep it within 4?
Yeah, so if the Packers win 28-20, that means I get 4 points. So it would be Packers 28, Chiefs 24, and I would owe you $10. But if the Packers won 28-25, I would get 4 points, and it would be 29-25 Chiefs, and I would win the bet. So you're betting that the Packers are going to beat the Chiefs by 5 or more points.
Oh, that's what do you mean? You want to lose money?
Let me give my sense. I'm curious before we get into the brass tacks of how your guys are going to lose money to each other. Okay, I'm not involved in this.
Caleb, don't you want to win some easy?
Caleb, it's free money. It's literally free money.
This shenanigans.
He's asking to literally take $50.
You're throwing all these pluses and minuses just to make it sweeter for yourself. No, you never count out either one. Obviously, Mahomes has been. Here's what's crazy to think about, right? That who would have thought at the start of this season that the Chiefs are statistically have the same record? They are, you somewhat interpret it as good as the Chiefs are 4-4, the Patriots who are 4-4, the Browns who are 4-4, the Broncos, and I think there was one other. No, that's it. So these are all Panthers as well. That's right. These are all teams that you would consider mid-tier, not even really dark horses, except for the Chiefs. The benefit the Chiefs had, and I would be interested to look back on what we predicted after the first game. Now, are the Chiefs' seasons over? I don't think any of us said they were over because you can't count out Mahomes, but they still it is the way they're playing can't continue, and they do have the benefit of the AFC West being really tight. I mean, it's literally within one game of each other. The Raiders are top with 5-2, Chargers 4-3, then the Chiefs and Broncos are tied 4-4. So they have the benefit of potentially winning the top of their division as well as maybe getting the wild card. But yeah, I think what I'm seeing with the Chiefs is really like that. They're not making plays they normally do. They're not having connections they do. I think it's a confidence issue. And it reminds me the way it felt like to be the Falcons after losing to Brady in that comeback. Like, it's just psychologically, you were supposed to be this good, you were up this amount, and the Chiefs was the narrative was the young newcomer to heir to Brady with all these powerful weapons, losing to the Bucs. I mean, certainly it's Tom Brady, but I think it's just psychological. I don't think it's certainly the defense needs help. They invested a lot into the offense. Mahomes is good enough to keep the team in the game. I just think it's a confidence issue, and how do you fix that? It's just by staying to your fundamentals, doing what you think is right, and what got you to that level. But I think that mindset of they just got off the Super Bowl, plus everyone's gunning for you. You get to the position of when you're Mahomes, certainly people know you're that good, but after a couple of years, they figure out who you are and if your game can be beaten. I mean, they're putting people up top deep to take away the deep, and they're trying to keep him in the pocket so he can't do some magic outside of it. And the benefit of the way Brady plays, I've always said that, he wins games that he's not the flashiest, but that's the kind of football that just staying in the pocket and releasing it under 3 seconds or less, like that's the kind of thing that makes it so hard for defenses to ever figure you out. And I think the Chiefs need to adjust to that. The reason I won't rule them out ever. I would give them a little more credit because they have Melvin Ingram coming in, and that opens up the defensive line. That if they're consistently getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers, that might disrupt a lot of things. And I think it'll be more of a shootout, to be honest. I could see it in the 30s, but I'll give the edge to the Packers for this one.
So, John, who do you pick?
I think the Packers are going to win the game.
Okay, good. Okay. But you think the Chiefs will cover whatever the line is?
Yeah, I think I don't even know what the line is right now, but I think they'll cover. I don't know what the line is going to be, but they'll probably cover. I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think Caleb and I are on the same page. Higher scoring, maybe 30s, maybe, Packers 31, Chiefs 27 or something like that, 27-28. So I think it's going to be higher scoring and pretty close. It should be a really fun game to watch.
Sorry, my light broke. It says 1 point underdogs against the Chiefs. The Packers are 1 point underdogs.
The Chiefs are favored. How could the Chiefs be favored to win that game?
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Who made that line?
I mean, if the Chiefs win, it wouldn't surprise me. But the way they've been playing, it's just at this point, how do you keep just like psychologically saying like, oh, they got to be better?
They are not the Chiefs. Like Jonathan texted us during the game. Like, these are not the same Chiefs as last year or the year before. That like Caleb said, they are middle of the pack AFC. You got to think Raiders. You got to think who's it? Patriots. Like that's who they're playing like.
It's hard to change. It's hard to change your mindset and think of it like that, but you do, because that's the reality. Like,
it's a psychological switch.
Yeah, you could tell that it's just not their season. They're not going to the Super Bowl this year. So it's like somebody else is going to win the AFC this year.
And it's like to hear you say it is weird, even though I think I'm agreeing because
it's always been the Patriots, and then once Brady left, it's like it's always been the Chiefs now. And it's like weird. We've never had like a different team.
It's like he's not here to defend himself, but I think for Jonathan, like all the Bills, they're always bad. Like it's just psychologically, it's just tough to. I'm sorry, Jonathan. We're talking lots of smack, but no, you have a good point. I also interesting thought for you guys is like. It feels like during Mahomes' years of playing, right, and not super long, but he's been able to do some amazing throws that only he can do. It's impressive, with that baseball background. But it's also, you could watch a highlight reel of all the almost interceptions over like 3-4 years, whatever, how long he's playing, that it's just he was just so lucky for so long that now it seems like those are going the other way. and
True.
it's like you don't really. I think Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show said like you take ownership for what you control, which is like some maybe poor decision making, some things that you got to reevaluate. But it's also like don't stop making those throws. But if it's like bounces off your receiver, you get it right in the hands, bounces off his hands, and it gets picked off because of what the receiver did essentially. It certainly counts as an interception stat, but that's not the kind of throw you stop making, you know. So I think it does. I think it's more a psychological issue, but it is feel like all the luck they had is now starting to become like, okay, now show us what you can really do when luck's not on your side, you know, because he certainly has the talent. So we'll see.
Yeah, one thing I want to address, and I texted it to you guys, and I said the Chiefs will not win more than 4 games the rest of the season.
Oh my gosh. Do you want to? I'll put
Let's
put
get the
money on
schedule.
that.
Let's get the schedule up. For
Like
Yeah,
I have
folks.
I have the schedule. You guys tell me win or loss for this game. So for these games.
All right. I'll go blind on this.
And then we'll end the podcast. So
Sure.
the Packers coming up, we say loss.
Loss, sure.
All right. So no win there. Then they have the Raiders in Las Vegas. I say that's an L.
No, that's a win.
I say they split with the Raiders. So they play them twice. I say they split with them. They beat them last year.
All right, I'll give you that. Let's say they split.
Okay, so we'll give them 1 dub. Then they play the Cowboys. That's a loss.
Okay.
I can't.
Play the Broncos. That's a win. So that's 2.
That's 2.
Then they play the Chargers. That's another loss. So that's.
Oh.
Then they play the Steelers.
They could beat the Chargers.
Yeah, but prime time in LA, I don't know.
Chargers just lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, but the Chargers beat the Chiefs already.
Okay.
So let's say we have.
That's tough.
I'll even give them the Chargers. Then they have the Steelers. They're gonna lose to the Steelers.
No, they're gonna win that. You know they're gonna beat the Steelers.
Yeah, I would say the Steelers lose. Yeah.
All right. So then they play the Bengals and the Broncos. So they beat the Broncos. So they're borderline 4 to 5. They're literally gonna be 5 or 4. So if you add that to what they have now, they're gonna be what? 8 to 9 wins. Is that gonna make the playoffs?
In the AFC, it might.
But that's the fact that we're in that talk. And we talked about this. I don't remember if I brought it up or someone did, but like the AFC is pretty tight. But then that you do get into the question of because of that division, will they have to compete for the wild card? That's we're getting to that time of the season where you got to start thinking like these games they're always equally important. It's just like now we have the benefit of hindsight and
100%.
Will the Chiefs make the playoffs? I don't know.
Okay, so here's my theory. I called it. I don't know if you guys remember, but we were sitting in a similar position last year. And remember, I came on the podcast and I said, and we were talking about, okay, what team? I think it was week like 10. We were talking about this. We were like, what team can make a run for the Super Bowl? And I think the Buccaneers had a week 12 bye. And I was like, okay, guys, they're going to get a bye in week 12. People reevaluate. And then they have 4 games after that. I think they're going to figure it out. And they played like the Falcons twice in those last 4 games. And they played the Lions once. I was like, I think they're going to win out the rest of the year and make a run in the playoffs. Now, come our fantasy or come our playoff bracket, prediction. I didn't listen to myself. I didn't pick them to go far, which was dumb. But I think the Chiefs are in a similar situation. Okay, so they get the Packers, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. Let's just say they beat the Raiders. Okay, so that's 1 and 2 in their next 3 games. But they get a bye in week 12. They get to reevaluate, take a step back, and that's big for some teams. Some teams really need that. They could definitely beat the Broncos out of the bye week. Let's say they're at home against the Raiders. They win that. Then at the Chargers Thursday night, they could definitely win that. And then Steelers and Broncos, they're going to beat. That's 4 out of the 6 games after their bye. They're definitely going to win. Okay, so then Chargers and Bengals, let's say they got 5 wins after their bye out of the 6 games. I don't think that's way out of the reach.
Yeah, then you have to start watching other teams at that point. But I get what you were saying. Like it's certainly possible, and that's barring any. If they got to win some tough games to guarantee their fate, it sounds like, and not lose the ones they're not expected to lose. Because I don't know the Broncos are no team in the NFL is an easy win generally, but Yeah, it's an interesting take. I like what you said about comparing them to the Bucks. Like they still got Andy Reid. They still have a great organization around them to win. They won a Super Bowl. It just comes down to a mind thing, and maybe they will reset the way the Bucks did.
Right, but I'm still picking I'm gonna tell you now, I'm picking the Bills to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Ooh, locking it in,
I'll lock it in right now.
barring any crazy injury.
Yeah, barring crazy injuries.
Yeah. Dang, I
All
don't
right.
know who, but I want to. We'll have to do. We should do a for later because we're getting there. But we start to pick out the games for this season. Then we can start to see game watching, like what the AFC will look like if we,
Yeah,
call it.
Yeah, we gotta do some mid-season awards. We're at the
Yeah.
mid-year
well,
point.
I
yeah.
guess next
After this week, would like next podcast, maybe we'll talk about some mid-season and some
because of the
some
17
stuff
game
like,
league. Yeah, I guess it would be next week. Yeah. Or,
because yeah, this week is week 9, and then there's 18 weeks. So after
okay.
this week, would be
Yeah.
halfway.
Yeah, we should.
Gotcha.
All right. Well, that does it for episode 9 of the Dorm Bay podcast. We're in week 9. So I wanted to just go over a couple things. One, we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Crazy.
Round of applause for that. And we already hit 1,000 over on Instagram, but it's just crazy that we hit 1,000 there. And then we hit 100K, 100,000 individual
Dang.
people on the TikTok.
How is that possible?
That's crazy to think. That's crazy to think about. Like, I know we saw the number, we talked about it, but now like there's a lot of ones and zeros. You know what I mean? Across all the. That's crazy.
It's like we John and I would always be like, oh, we have enough followers to fill like the Long Island or the New York Islanders stadium. It's like now we could fill it 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, I can't believe that in the beginning of the season we were like, all right, let's just double to get to 20K, because we started the season with 10K, and then we got to 20K. We were like, we're at 30K. Okay, if we can get to 50K, that'd be amazing. Like that's even reaching. And we're 100K halfway through the season.
It's unbelievable, and I think it's a props to you guys, especially for the content you've been putting out. And I think we're killing it all everywhere, and also to the fans. Like the fact that people listen to us, that a lot of people attribute their fantasy success to John and all the hilarious stuff Jared puts out. I mean, it really means so much that people like care to listen, and that we try to give so much value back, that at least the way the numbers are telling us that we're doing a good job. So we just want to keep giving value to the people, because we're nothing without that audience. So yeah, that's crazy to think about. That's crazy to think. It makes you want to work harder to give back.
Yeah, and not only giving back with like content, but also since we reached 100K, we will in the future do a giveaway. We haven't figured out what. Maybe you guys could help us out in the comments. Some sort of jersey or sports memorabilia, like a signed helmet or something like that we could try and give away to you guys, just to show our appreciation for it. I do want to say a couple promotional things. So we have John's fantasy football show on Saturday. That will be in the morning, so watch out for that. And then we have John's live show at noon on TikTok. He goes over everything fantasy football. And this podcast comes out on Thursday, so watch out for all those. And we talked about the Instagram and the TikTok. Go follow us over on there at Dorm Debate Podcast. As well, John has a Patreon that I'll link down in the description. Basically, it's for anyone who needs some like fantasy football advice, any weekly picks. If you can't make the live, he posts the weekly picks, the must sits, his rankings on Patreon. So if you're busy during that 12 to 12:45 Sunday time period where you can't reach the live, then you'll be able to go on the Patreon. You'll be able to see all of his rankings, and it's all written down, so you can just quickly see it and change your lineup, depending
it's like
on
a personal fantasy coach.
Exactly.
For people who want to really beat their buddies, which could be an investment in some leagues. The way what I mean, take the cost of the Patreon versus what they could win out.
Yeah. Some people put a lot of money down. Like you could win a lot, and we're doing it for like. There's 3 tiers. One's $1, another is $2, and the other one's like $5, I think, right?
Yep.
So it's like it's pretty cheap when you think about it. And John's like
Shameless
80%,
plug.
80% accurate. I mean, people call him a time traveler. People call him Jesus. You know, he goes under many names.
That's a lot going on there. Let's dissect.
So yeah, he's got a good reputation around town. That's why we have 100K. John's always right. So yeah, so keep an eye out for all of those. And thank you guys again for all your support. If you made it this far, comment Chiefs suck, and I'll Venmo you.
You gotta be careful.
All right, that's all, guys. Thank you guys again, and we will see you guys next week.